Hey, it's Luke here and welcome back to the Transcending Thought Channel and podcast. This video is going to be talking about something very profound, which is the nature of the 4 stages of consciousness, which you may have heard of before. A lot of the time, we humans have been experiencing for thousands of years a certain stage of consciousness that we could call ego, which is not the final product. There is a higher dimension of consciousness, or a next stage of consciousness that humans can experience that is so liberating and so profound that every spiritual text talks about it. So when you understand this, you will know exactly what every spiritual teacher, spiritual master, and spiritual text has been pointing you to for thousands of years. And it's this 4th stage of consciousness that I'm going to guide you to right now. So as you may be aware, there are 4 stages of consciousness we humans can experience in ourselves. Consciousness is not a finite experience for us as humans. In other words, it's a spectrum a lot of the time. We go up and down the spectrum of consciousness in this dimension, in this form. We experience higher and lower states, and we can experience that. Now, obviously, to be clear here, consciousness itself, who you are in your essence, the formless awareness that you are, that which looks through your eyes, the consciousness that you are, the formless awareness that I am pointing you to throughout all of these videos and episodes, the deeper awareness that you are, that is whole, that is complete, and that is unchanging. Consciousness itself is completely unchanging. It is whole, it is complete, it is timeless, it does not change. And you can feel that in yourself. Sometimes I say, imagine that which looks through your eyes when you are 7, and imagine that which looks through your eyes when you are 70. When your body has changed, your personality has changed, your mind has changed, there's an essence of yourself looking through your eyes in both scenarios that's unchanged. It's the timeless consciousness that you are perceiving the world as your form goes through the process of what we call aging. The timeless awareness that you are doesn't change. It's infinite, timeless consciousness experiencing the illusion of change. So consciousness itself does not change. However, our experience of consciousness in this dimension can go through a period of what looks like change. In other words, you go up and down the spectrum. So there are 4 stages that you need to kind of be aware of. The first stage of consciousness that we can experience as humans is dreamless sleep, the deep sleep. The deep sleep is when you are asleep, no dreams, you're not even here. You're completely unconscious. It's completely unimaginable. You can't imagine what that's like to be in a deep sleep because there's nothing. There's no thing. It's just no experience. You're nowhere in no place in no time. And the way that I see that state is that when you go into deep sleep, what's happening is the consciousness that you are in this form, experiencing itself through this form, looking through your eyes, withdraws itself from the form and goes back into the unmanifested, into the formless dimension, the place that you came from, the place where you were before you were born, the unmanifested realm, the unmanifested that we can't speak about, we can't name, we can't think about, but we can kind of sense in ourselves as the no thing, the no place, the infinite, timeless realm beyond this changing form. There's an underlying stillness, an underlying awareness underneath this world of form that we can sense through stillness, through being, through presence. That's the unmanifested realm, the timeless realm. And when you go into deep sleep, the consciousness that you are withdraws itself from the form and replenishes itself in source. That's deep sleep. That's why when you're a baby, you go there a lot more often. You're going back to the source, like a wave crashing onto the shore. It comes in and goes back out again. That's the way that I see consciousness birthing into this realm. So it goes in, experiences life for a bit in this dimension, and then returns again to deep sleep. Now that's the first stage of consciousness, so deep sleep. Then we come to the second stage of consciousness, which is dream sleep or REM sleep, when you're having dreams. That's when consciousness is re-entering this dimension and your brain is starting up. I sometimes describe it as a computer starting itself up, kind of you're coming into this realm again and you're experiencing dreams. And then we come to the third stage of consciousness, which is what most humans experience throughout their lives. And a lot of humans haven't gone past that, but of course many are now. now. But the third stage of consciousness is the ego. The third stage of consciousness is wakeful unconsciousness. We could call it, in other words, you are awake in this world, in this dimension, but you are still in a kind of daydream. You are still in a kind of daydream where every thought that goes through your mind pulls you in and you become identified with it. You become identified with the thoughts of your mind consistently. Every thought that goes through your mind pulls you in and you experience that as your world, as your life. I sometimes use the analogy of a virtual reality headset. You have a virtual reality headset on. You're not really seeing the world as it is. You're seeing your mind's interpretations of the world consistently. And most likely that's very often of past and future. Your mind's consistently playing thoughts of the past, things that went wrong, things that happened that you didn't like, and it's playing it in your field of awareness. Or things that could go wrong. Your future that you have to keep thinking and worry about. Or a better future that you want to be in that's not this one, it's over there and I just have to go and get over there. There's thoughts constantly playing in front of your field of awareness consistently, and you're getting drawn into each one, and you are incarnating, getting identified with each thought that goes through your mind, and you become attached to it, and that's the world that you inhabit. That's why I often say humans have a veil in front of their eyes. They can't see the world as it is, which of course means to see the present moment, because there's nothing else to you ever. The present moment is all that there is and all you will ever experience. You will never not be in the present moment. This is all you ever have and all you ever experience. So this is only not known to you because you are trapped in the third stage of consciousness, which is the ego, which is identification with thought, which is every thought that goes past. It's like a daydream. You enter into that reality. So it might be a thought, I'm worthless, I'm no good, I'm a failure. Life is meaningless. The world is a horrible place. These thoughts, these perceptions, these ideas are playing in your mind, and you enter into each one, and that's the world you then inhabit. The world around you becomes tainted through your perception. That's why I often also say humans very rarely actually see and experience their world because you're not looking at the world, you're looking at your thoughts about it. That's why two people can be sitting in the same coffee shop. One person's experiencing suffering, the other person is experiencing bliss and joy. They're in the exact same place, just one seat here, one seat there, one suffering and completely in the grip of depression or unhappiness and fear and panic, and the other one's experiencing peace and joy and love in the exact same situation, drinking their coffee. What's the difference? The difference is one person is identified with negative, fearful thoughts. The other one is awake in the present moment, experiencing the sipping of their coffee. They're here, fully, presently. The other one is in their mind, thinking about things non-stop. It's the thoughts in your mind generating your internal experience very often, because your emotional body is consistently reacting to what the thoughts of the mind are saying. Your thoughts are consistently negative, perhaps, which is creating negative in the body, or they're consistently fearful, creating fear in the body. It's your thoughts that are pulling you in the third stage of consciousness. In other words, you are still asleep. You're kind of walking around in a daydream. You're not really here, you're not really alert, you're not giving attention to your present moment really at all, or very little. You're having probably just enough attention to just get by and just be able to maneuver in the world, but majority of your attention is where you'd rather be or where you were. Making sense? That's the third stage of consciousness. I call it a kind of daydream or wakeful unconsciousness, when you're identified with thought, identified with time, past and future. And then of course we come to the fourth stage of consciousness. The fourth stage of consciousness is a higher degree of awareness to the present moment. Presence, a higher degree of consciousness to the here and now. The fourth stage of consciousness is the spiritual awakening. The fourth stage of consciousness is presence, the awakening, as they sometimes call it in the East. The reason why it's called an awakening is because what's happening in the fourth stage of consciousness is you are awakening out of the daydream state where you are consistently thinking about past and future and the roles that you carry out in this world and this perception of who you believe yourself to be, which is a phantom self we call ego. You awaken out of that and sense deeply your true nature, which is the formless consciousness which awakens into the present moment. The fourth stage of consciousness, you are completely awake and alert to the here and now, and you can hopefully sense it as I'm pointing you to it and experiencing it. Don't attempt to conceptually understand what I'm saying here, just deeply sense the truth, which is that the now, the present moment, is all you have, and you can come into it fully now. You are safe to do so. Feel that safety. Know that you are safe. Know that you can bring attention from past and future just for a moment, and it won't kill you. It will actually help you, because consistently thinking about past and future isn't doing anything. It's only causing you harm. Don't listen to the mind as it pulls you in and it tries to bring you back. Don't listen. Keep going. Keep waking up. Keep becoming present. Keep waking into this dimension, sensing your timeless essence in the now, realizing that past and future are just thoughts in your mind right now. There is no past and there is no future in this dimension. There is just the present moment, and that's all there ever is. There is only the now. And sensing that deeply in yourself, awakening, when you can sense that, you are awakening into the present moment and entering the fourth stage of consciousness, which is presence or awakening. When you're coming out of the daydreams of the mind, all of the thoughts that are just thoughts, little neurons firing in your brain, that's all they are, just thoughts. You no longer need to believe in them. You don't need to give them attention. There's no effort here. There's no willpower. You're not fighting with your mind. You're just no longer giving it attention, because you're moving the consciousness that you are. You're moving yourself away from thinking and into the present moment, into your breath, into your body, becoming more awake, becoming more alert. We could call this rising above thinking. Eckhart Tolle says that a lot. Rising above thinking. Thinking, most humans are consistently identified with thought. They're in the thinking realm. That's all that they know. When you go into the first and second stage of consciousness, you are going below thought. You are going down in consciousness into the timeless realm. In this dimension, when you go to the fourth stage of consciousness, you are going above thinking. You are awakening out of thought and sensing the awareness that is not the thoughts of the mind, but that which hears them, that which perceives them. That which is not thought. I sometimes call it the looking self. That which looks through your eyes, that's not a thought, it's formless awareness. Just looking at your present moment. Resting your awareness gently on the here and now. Becoming aware of being aware. Becoming aware of the awareness that you are. The formless light looking through your eyes. Knowing yourself as that, feeling yourself as that, is we can call it the fourth stage of consciousness, presence, being awake, knowing that state and residing in that state is what all spiritual teachers, spiritual masters and spiritual texts have been pointing you to for thousands of years. It's that simple. Knowing yourself as pure, limitless consciousness. Knowing that is who you are. Sensing that deeply as who you are in the now. Knowing that. Sensing that. Being that. Resting as that which looks, does not think. It just is. Pure unmanifested awareness. Pure consciousness. Feeling yourself as that is the fourth stage of consciousness. Holding that state, resting gently in that now, presently. Residing in that now, presently. Feeling yourself as that now, presently. As the space, as the silent stillness is what connects you to the source of all of life. We sometimes call here being, the one being, the source of life. That three-letter word that sometimes gets misused. The source of all life. The formless, unmanifested, limitless life that is inseparable from who you are. Residing in that fourth stage of consciousness and sensing it deeply, the stillness within and the stillness without around you as well, underlying all sounds, underlying all forms, is a formless, limitless stillness. And as you begin to sense that stillness, the space underneath forms, the silence underneath the sounds, becoming aware of that stillness awakens the stillness in you. And you sense deeply a truth, which is that who you are in your essence is that unmanifested stillness. It's the light looking at the forms of this world, but it's not the forms of this world. And that's liberating. You are liberating yourself from identification with forms and sensing yourself as the timeless, formless life that you are. That's it. That's the simplicity of that. The simplicity of spirituality is sensing that which is not the thoughts, but the stillness underneath the thoughts, and residing in that state. Now, of course, in this dimension, what you will experience most likely is a experience of coming up the spectrum to the fourth, and you might be able to feel it now as I'm guiding you, for example, and then you might go off into your day and it resides back into that third stage again. And you're kind of coming up the spectrum a little bit. Just knowing, of course, that the only moment you can experience the fourth stage of consciousness, the enlightened state, the awakened state, is now. Because now is all that there is. I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make with spirituality and spiritual living and being present is that they try to be present and then they try to hold on to being present. So I just have to be present now, but then I have to remain present for the rest of my life. And that's the mentality that they have. The issue is, of course, the moment that you do that, you're back in the dimension of time. You're thinking about future again. Right, I have to be present now, but I also have to be present for the future. I have to be present for the rest of my life. I just have to do that and then I'll be enlightened. That's what enlightenment is. It's being present now, but also for the rest of my life. So that's what I need. And when I've got that, then I'll be happy and at peace. And it's not the way. It's that you're in the dimension of time again. Just be here now. That's all that you need. To be here now, in this moment, sensing deeply the presence that you are now. Don't worry about retaining it. Don't worry about holding on to it. Don't worry about holding on for it the rest of your life. Just be here now, sensing deeply the stillness now. And that's all that is needed. It's because it's all that there is now. So that's the only moment you can be present. You can't be present tomorrow because tomorrow doesn't exist. You can only be present now. And that's it. That's what you're looking for. It's the stillness within, the stillness without, the unmanifested timeless realm, the formless realm, the unmanifested realm, which is inseparable from who you are. Resting in that stillness. Another description of stillness, of course, which the mind can never understand, is the no thinking state, the no thought. Where you give up trying to understand any of this, or your life. You stop thinking about everything for a moment and you rest in the no mind. Sensing the silence between my words. Bringing attention to the silence. Listening to the silence. Awakens the silent stillness in you. You are aware of being. No doing here. It's not something that you do. If you see it as something that you do, the mind starts up. Because doing is the thinking mind's realm. What we are doing here is going beyond doing and bringing awareness to being. That doesn't mean you can't still take action. You can still do things. You can move. You can take action. You can create things. You can build things. But underneath the doing, there is a deeper dimension of being. The analogy, of course, which is often given, human beings, the human is the person, the individual form you perceive yourself to be. The being is the one life underneath the form. The analogy is the wave on the ocean. The person, the human, is the wave dancing on the ocean. Being is the ocean itself, the deeper underbelly of life. When you know that being, you can sense that being, the deeper dimension, and know yourself as inseparable from that. Do you think the ocean cares when there's a storm? Of course not. No matter how bad the storm is on the surface, which of course represents the chaos of this world, of this dimension, the surface reality, no matter how much chaos is going on, no matter how much lightning and rain and stuff, the deep underbelly of the ocean is safe. It's fine. It's still. It's strong. It's deep. Sometimes I give to people this analogy of finding the pearl at the bottom of the ocean. As the rain comes, as the waves crash on the surface of the ocean, deep in the underbelly of the ocean, at the bottom of the depths of the ocean, there's a clam. And inside the clam there is a pearl. And that pearl is undisturbed. It is peaceful. It is still. It's untouched by the surface world. It remains still. It remains peaceful. It remains calm. As it knows itself in the depths of being of the ocean. Your job in this reality is to find that pearl. Just an analogy, don't think too much. It's the deeper essence of who you are. It's undisturbed by form and by time. As your body ages, as you perceive the aging form, as this face changes, as the body grows and then shrivels, underneath that process, which is ultimately this illusory process, it's just a surface reality, there is a deeper reality of being, which is who you are. And sensing that and knowing yourself as that is as simple as becoming aware of being, becoming aware that you are aware, sensing the awareness, the formless light, the formless awareness that you are, and resting in that. If you ever struggle, your breath will take you there. If you're suffering, if you're chaotic, if you're fearful, if you're scared, come to the breath and let it guide you home, which is the now. Following the breath in and back out. And just, I often say, watch the breath as it flows. You don't do anything to breathe. It just happens. You can't be aware of your breathing and thinking. You can only do one or the other. It's always an indirect process, this. You can't stop thinking. The moment you try and stop thinking, thinking happens more. I just have to stop thinking, like Luke said, and you'll start thinking more. Because your mind will start to try to work out, how do I stop thinking? Let's think about that for a moment. It's not possible. The mind will do that for thousands of years if you give it, and it has been doing that for thousands of years. What we are doing here is transcending the thinking mind and sensing the higher awareness, which happens now. You need not understand it. You need not give thought attention. You become comfortable with not understanding, and a deeper knowing than thought awakens, and you rest in that. Knowing that there is a dimension beyond thought. So I often say to people that a lot of the time when we're suffering, little neurons are just firing in our brain. That's all that's happening. Most of the time. Little electrical sparks, little neurons creating images of our family getting into a car crash, or all of these things that kind of the mind plays and our body reacts to, very rarely are actually happening right now. Very rarely. You're in bed 3 in the morning, in bed, and you wake up and you start to panic and sweat about the day ahead tomorrow. It's just thinking. It's just thoughts in your mind. Bring yourself away from that. You will deal with it tomorrow when the time comes, presently. You will be able to deal with it tomorrow. Even if tomorrow was stressful, it's better to make it stressful tomorrow. Don't worry about it now. See the futility of worrying about future. You can think about it. You can plan for things. But worrying about it brings your emotional state down, and it makes you feel horrible. And then it actually prevents real change, because the lower energies keeps you trapped in that which matches that frequency. Worry, fear, those sorts of energies project themselves outwardly, and that's what you experience. So anxiety actually doesn't help you most of the time. It makes things worse, and just knowing that can bring in this new state, which is acceptance, love, peace, joy, awareness, being, acceptance, surrender. These are the states that will dramatically improve your life, because it raises your level of consciousness to a higher frequency. You start to literally vibrate. Your energy vibrates at a higher frequency. You really feel it. You feel it. Your energy is a higher state, more light, more joyful, more loving, and that energy pours out of you, and that's what returns to you. So I've guided you here through the essence of all spiritual teachings, which is finding that fourth stage of consciousness, which is presence. The reason why people fast in certain religions is because fasting makes you very present and slows the thinking mind down. Because when you're hungry, you're not thinking about 3 years' time, you're thinking about where's my next meal going to come from. Your body goes into survival mode, which brings you into the present moment more deeply. It wakes you up into the fourth stage of consciousness more easily. You're more alert, because you're thinking, you're more, your body and your animalistic sense of self is just focused on where is my next meal going to come from. That's the reason of fasting. That's why it gets you closer to God, which is the source of life. The same with ice baths and cold waters. Wim Hof is doing a really good job there. Cold showers wakes you up. It makes you present. Stops the thinking mind. Plunging yourself into an ice cold bath wakes you up. Makes you present. Makes you more conscious. Meditation, bringing yourself back to the present moment. All spiritual teachings point to the present moment and awakening from thought. But I am giving you here the essence of that, which is, yes, these tools are helpful, but ultimately, when you get to a certain stage, you don't need the tools. You just bring yourself into a surrendered state of oneness with now, and reside in that knowing state. Deeper knowing than thought, just an awareness. Just a being, just a presence, looking around, observing, resting your awareness gently on the now, and allowing everything to be, deciding there's no problem right now, you're just here, you're fine, you're okay, nothing's happening, you're fine. Don't listen to the mind's judgments. You're just okay here and now, and residing in that state is what awakens you from the dream, the daydream of thinking, and into the fourth stage of consciousness, which is presence.